It started with a simple subject line. "You've been invited to the Ellen DeGeneres Show." Karoline Leavitt raised an eyebrow. A sunny Thursday morning in D.C. turned sharper as she read the topic. Generation Divide in American Politics. It sounded harmless, but something about the wording felt loaded, like a smile hiding a slap. One of her aides warned her, "It's Ellen. She plays nice but jabs with a grin. This could be a trap." Karoline leaned back in her chair, her eyes drifting to the worn pocket Constitution on her desk. She gave a half smile. "Let her try. If she wants to make a joke out of me, I'll bring truth to the punchline." By the time her plane landed in L.A., social media was already buzzing. Why is Ellen inviting Trump's girl? Don't fall for the ambush. But Karoline wasn't rattled. She'd been underestimated before. Backstage at Warner Brothers Studios, a stylist offered to soften her look. She declined, adjusting her silver cross necklace. "I'm not here to blend in." Out front, Ellen flipped through her cue cards. "Let's make this one spicy," she whispered to her producer. "Tension gets clicks." The lights rose. "Please welcome Karoline Leavitt." Cheers. Boos. Uneven applause. The room was split before she said a word. Ellen greeted her with that signature grin, but her eyes were measuring. "You're young, ambitious, and work for a very controversial man," Ellen started. "Don't you ever feel like you're just reading someone else's script?" Laughter rippled from the audience. Karoline smiled softly. "Actually, Ellen, I've been writing my own story since college, and I don't need applause to validate it." A flicker crossed Ellen's face. The game was on. "Let's be real," Ellen pressed. "Working for Trump comes with baggage. If you mean the kind that rebuilt the economy and stood up to global bullies, yes, I carry it proudly." Murmurs. Some applause. A few raised eyebrows. Ellen tried to laugh. "You don't really believe all that, do you? Or are you just trying to be the next viral mouthpiece?" Without flinching, Karoline reached beneath her chair and unfolded a printed interview. "Funny you ask. In 2018, you praised Trump's economic plan for bringing jobs back to Middle America. What changed? Facts or politics?" The studio gasped. Ellen blinked. "You mock people like me for standing by our beliefs," Karoline added, voice calm, razor sharp. "But what really bothers you is that we don't back down." The air changed. The laughter dimmed. Ellen tried to pivot. Passion without compassion is just noise. And compassion without truth, that's Hollywood. That landed. Heads turned. A producer whispered into Ellen's earpiece. "She's flipping the room." But Ellen pressed on. "Let's talk about women's rights. You support a man accused by multiple women. How do you sleep at night?" Gasps. A few claps. Ellen was hunting for a viral moment. Karoline didn't blink. "I sleep fine, because I don't reduce women to victims. I believe in their strength, not their slogans." The crowd stirred. The control Ellen usually had over the room slipping. Karoline sat with composure, cross-catching the light. "People don't tune in for a political ambush disguised as comedy," she said. "They tune in for truth, even if it stings." The audience murmured. Some nodded. Some looked shaken. Ellen forced a grin. "Truth is complicated. I'm not sure you see the full picture." "Maybe not," Karoline said, leaning forward. "But I see enough to know that faith, hard work, and love of country aren't punchlines. And yet, every time someone on your side talks about unity, they forget to include people like me." That drew real applause. Divided but loud. "You say I don't understand struggle," she continued. "I grew up packing lunches, not privilege. Paid my way through school, hustled, failed, and got back up. I didn't inherit a platform to mock people. I earned my voice." Boom. The audience stirred again. Ellen tapped her cards, hiding unease. "You think I mock people? I think you use laughter to dodge accountability." A long pause, then a voice from backstage. "She's not wrong." Everyone turned. A young crew member stood at the edge of the set. "She's saying things I wish someone had said 10 years ago." Gasps. Ellen blinked. Karoline didn't turn. She didn't need to. The tide was turning, and it was only the beginning. The commercial break hit like a cold reset, but the tension didn't fade. Backstage, a senior producer whispered urgently into Ellen's ear, "Social media is already reacting." "Karoline claps back" is trending. Ellen gave a tight-lipped nod. "I've got this." But the usual sparkle in her eyes? Gone. Karoline sat silently. She didn't check her phone. She simply adjusted her silver cross necklace. Like armor. Her aide, Maddie, approached. "You're trending. Want to see?" Karoline shook her head gently. "Later. We finished what we came for." The cameras rolled again. Ellen forced a grin. "Welcome back. Things got a little intense. Let's cool it down, shall we?" She turned to Karoline. "I didn't bring you here to fight. I brought you here to understand." Karoline met her gaze. Calm. Steady. "Then, maybe next time, start with a question, not a punchline." "Oof," murmurs from the crowd. Ellen scrambled. "Surely we can agree on something like joy. You're a woman in politics. That takes guts." "It does," Karoline replied. "And it also takes honesty. Something Americans are starving for while shows like this pretend to offer it." Applause. Not everyone, but enough. Ellen's smile twitched. "You're confident for someone so new." "And you're dismissive," Karoline shot back. "For someone who claims to uplift women." Gasps. Audible ones. The Ellen Show didn't feel like a playground of laughter anymore. It felt like a reckoning. "This has taken quite the turn," Ellen muttered. "It usually does," Karoline said softly, "when truth walks in." The room broke into scattered claps. Some stood, some stayed frozen, but everyone was awake. Then Karoline leaned in, voice lowered. "I didn't come here to argue, Ellen. I came because you invited me. But from the moment I sat down, I was treated like a problem, not a guest." Ellen blinked. "You say you want unity. You say you want dialogue. But you mocked my faith, my job, and my voice, and now that I've pushed back, I'm aggressive. That's not a conversation. That's a trap." Silence, the kind that makes producers hold their breath. And then, someone clapped, then 3, then a wave. Ellen tried to salvage it. "You've rehearsed this well." Karoline met her eyes. "I didn't rehearse it. I lived it." From the crowd, a deep voice rang out, "Let her talk." The balance had shifted. Karoline wasn't just defending herself, she was defending millions. "I work for a president you don't like. Fine. But I love this country. I believe in its people. And I don't need Hollywood's approval to know what's real." Then came the moment that would echo across the nation. Ellen, frustrated, fired a low blow. "Maybe if you stopped hiding behind that little cross of yours, people would take you seriously." The room froze. Karoline didn't shout. She simply let her hand rest gently near her necklace. She looked at Ellen, not with fury, but disappointment. "This," she said, voice clear, "is what they really think of people like me." She turned to the audience. "They mock what we wear, what we believe, and then they preach kindness." Dead silence. "You just told the world who you really are." Then she sat back down. 10 seconds. No one moved. Then a roar of applause. On TikTok, clips exploded. The cross moment. Ellen versus Faith. That wasn't a clapback, it was a cultural earthquake. By that evening, Fox ran full coverage. CNN held a panel. Even The View cautiously said, "She didn't yell. She didn't run. She just held her ground." Backstage, Maddie's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Veterans, nurses, pastors, atheists, "Thank you for standing firm." A message lit up from a contact saved as, "DT, you were brilliant." They needed to see that. "Donald." Karoline didn't reply. She just whispered to Maddie, "Book Hannity." Book, CNN. Let's take this national. Ellen's team went into crisis mode. A written apology was drafted, then scrapped. Write it out, her PR advised. But America wasn't moving on. A national poll hit the wire. Did Ellen disrespect faith on live TV? 68% said yes. 3 days later, Ellen canceled her next taping. The official reason? Production timing. The real reason? Damage control. Karoline, meanwhile, was everywhere. On Hannity, she held her own. On CNN, she calmly stated her convictions without retreat. And then came the National Values Summit in Dallas. Nearly 20,000 rose to their feet before she said a word. Some say I went too far, she began. Others say not far enough. But I didn't show up on that stage to win a fight. I showed up to remind America that your faith, your values, your identity don't belong to late-night punchlines. The room thundered, but she raised her hand. That moment wasn't about me. It was about you. The teachers told to stay quiet. The veterans mocked patriotism. The moms were dismissed for their values. I didn't defend my necklace. I defended a belief. Across the country, laws were proposed to protect religious expression in workplaces. At a church in Georgia, her quote became a sermon title. In her D.C. office, 15,000 letters arrived. One from a retired nurse read, "You made me feel seen again." That letter, framed. Beside it, a screenshot. Karoline on Ellen's stage. Cross-visible, eyes calm, shoulders back, not outraged, unshakable. And as she stepped off that summit stage, a reporter asked, "Do you consider this a win?" She paused, then smiled. Call it a beginning. Because sometimes a quiet voice on a hostile stage becomes the voice of a nation.